Hi, it's Dr. John Raymond Baker, D.C., and today's Friday, May 16th, 2014, and as you know, on Fridays I usually do my videos. Today I'm going to depart from my often procedure of ranting or talking about the most recent health advances or health news or whatever, and talk about a mystery. Now, what mystery am I going to talk about? Well, a while back I saw this video. It was an interview with David Paulides, who is an author, but originally he worked for many years as law enforcement, then he transitioned to technology, and then he wrote a book, I believe, about Bigfoot and about a Native American tribe that has a history of knowing about Bigfoot and kind of including them in their myths and legends. But what happened to David was he was in, I believe, a national park, perhaps, you know, looking about information about Bigfoot, I don't know. But he was approached, had a knock on his door, and I think there was a couple or maybe three park employees that wanted to talk to him about something that had been troubling them and mysterious, and that was the disappearance of people in the national parks, where according to them there would be a big search, and then finally the search would be over and the people would in essence be forgotten. Nothing more would be done about it. So they believed he would be a good person to investigate the phenomenon, and he did some initial background searches about the topic, had a friend look into it, and they said, "You've really found something, this really is weird." So David started trying to get information about, for example, baseline stuff. How many people are missing from national parks every year? And the National Park Service said they don't keep records, either by state or nationally. And at first he couldn't believe this, and then finally people told him, "No, David, they really don't keep records." He asked them, "Well, you know, if you were to have to come up with a list of people that are missing for one state, how much would it be?" And I think it was like $30,000 or $50,000. And based on that, I think he asked them, "Well, how about nationally?" And they were talking figures in the millions as far as I remember. So he went about trying to find information on these various missing persons through FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, and received kind of hit or miss or varying types of responses. Sometimes he was ignored completely. Sometimes the material he got was so redacted, so blacked out that it was useless. And then in some cases they would just tell him straight up, "You're not going to get the case file." In fact, in one, there was a young lady that disappeared, and he really it was not far from the place that he was living at the time in California, and he contacted them, and I think he sent two or three FOIA requests. They were denied, and finally got a call from a special agent who apparently had done some research on David, knew he was ex-law enforcement, and asked him why he wanted the files. And according to what David says, that FOIA, part of it is they can't ask you why you want it. They can either deny the request or grant it, but not ask you why. And he told him, "Well, you know, I'm doing some work on missing persons case, and this is one that I wanted to get information on." The guy said, he asked the special agent, who was very antagonistic toward him, "Is this a crime or missing persons case?" And the guy said, "Missing persons." He said, "Do you have any suspects?" "No." "Has anybody worked the case in the last 20, 25 years?" "No." "Well, why won't you let me have it?" "You're just not going to get it," he said. He repeated that 2 or 3 times, and David said, as of the last time I heard his progress on that, they never have let him get that case file. And he said that he's actually talked to a person that had seen the case file, I think an ex-employee of the Park Service, who said, "I don't know why they won't let you see it. You know, I've seen it." And I believe David actually even had people that were family members of the missing person who tried to intercede to ask him, "Why won't you let me have the case file?" But that's part of his reaction from the Park Service up to the FOIA request, and he's also done FOIA requests about as far as the FBI reports. They had the Green Berets actually go into an area, and mysteriously they would not interface well with the local people doing searches. They set up their own command system, their own communication system. They were there searching 4 or 5 days. But what David found out after putting out in his appearances on national media, asking ex-Green Berets, you know, do you ever search for people? Although he didn't get direct responses from Green Berets, the families of Green Berets told him that the Green Berets don't go out doing missing person searches. So what the Green Berets were doing there for 4 or 5 days, if they weren't looking for the missing child that everybody else was looking for, we don't know. Now, these cases are not your run-of-the-mill missing persons cases. They're not cases where the person voluntarily has disappeared, where animals have attacked and killed them, or they've drowned. These are very strange cases. There's 3 books that he's written. They're basically grouped as far as geographical locations, one for one part of the country, one for another part of the country, and I believe the third book even has international missing cases. And a lot of these cases have things in common. For example, when the people are found, often their bodies or the actual person is found like in a dry riverbed, dry lake bed, where there's not very much in the way of footprints or tracks. Another thing that they've noticed is that a lot of times there will be, right after the person goes missing, several days of bad weather, like continuous rain, which of course would also tend to obliterate tracks that could be used to help locate the person. Another thing is that, and it's not just children, but there's children and adults, and in some cases more than one person has disappeared, like a couple of people. But often the missing person is often found many miles from where they disappeared, and often in conditions where it seems nearly impossible for them to have gotten there by themselves. For example, 2-3-year-old children that are found 20 miles in snowdrifts that are 6-foot snowdrifts. You know, how did they get there without being taken there? There's also an association of children that have been found claiming that things like bears took care of them, or in one case a wolf or a big dog had taken care of them. And the stories are just really bizarre, that the wolf or a big dog brought berries for them to eat. One little girl that was describing that, her father asked her, "Where's your hat?" She said, "The wolf ate it." He says, "What do you mean the wolf ate it?" She said, "The wolf took the hat off my head and ate it in front of me. And then he brought berries with me and cuddled and took care of me and comforted me through the night till y'all found me." And a similar story was told of a child that said that a bear took him. And in fact, some of the children that saw that the child be abducted said it was a bear or looked like a bear. And there's one case in which this boy went missing, and about the same time he went missing, a family, not associated at all with his family, had gone to an area of the park because they wanted to see bears, and up on a ledge or on a high ground, this little boy says, "Look, Daddy, bear." And the father looked and he said, "That doesn't look like a bear, it looks like more like a person." And it was apparently carrying something on its shoulder, which many people have speculated may have been the child that went missing. But right before they saw this bipedal creature carrying something over his shoulder, they heard this blood-curdling sound, a scream, that they said was too loud to be a human. None of them could scream that loud. And there's also been cases where kids or people have been heard hollering or screaming and kind of cut off in mid-scream. Or there would be faint screams and nobody could hear where they were coming from. Other associations or commonalities in these cases have been things like berry bushes, especially I believe blueberries, not sure on that. No, or huckleberries. No, I believe it was huckleberries. Boulder fields. And to give you an example, these are not children or not people who were totally abandoned or were mentally ill and wandering for days by themselves. A lot of these cases were a child, for example, who's walking with their family and they run ahead, maybe a few yards ahead of the family, enters into a stand of trees just temporarily, maybe even split seconds or seconds, obliterated by shrubbery or leaves, and they disappear, never to be seen again. No blood, no trace at all. In fact, there was a case like that where a young girl had a 72-year-old man with her. They sat on a rock. She wanted to go toward the lake and take pictures. He said, I'm really tired. So he sat there. Other people saw him sitting there, so he didn't have any part in her disappearance. And she ran ahead, went into some trees, never to be seen again. They had hundreds or thousands of people search for an extended period for her. All that was ever found of her after that was a lens cap from her camera. They didn't find her clothes, they didn't find her camera, they didn't find anything else. They had another case, actually I think there was more than one case like this, where they found the pants of the boy that went missing, and they said that it was like he had just unzipped his pants, dropped them, and been taken out of them. They found the pants lying on the ground and a portion of the tibia, shin bone, still in the pants leg. The socks were there, the boots were missing, and there were like tiny bits of bone in the socks. And the parks people, the investigators that investigated the scene, said it was one of the most bizarre things they'd ever seen in all their years of being an investigator or doing searches. A lot of people that have had family members go missing say that they believe there were abductions. In fact, some of the investigators that were involved have posited that you're dealing with abductions, not just people that have gone missing. The explanation, one thing David Paulides does not do in his books is posit an explanation, suggest or speculate what's happened to the people. He just gives the facts and lets you form your own opinions. Other people have speculated perhaps it's Bigfoot, aliens, that the people have disappeared into another dimension. Some people have thought, well, maybe there's serial killers living in the woods, or that there's actually employees of the Parks Department that are serial killers. However, some of these cases go back 100, 150 years. And you have to remember that it's not just in the United States. There's also cases in Europe, Northern Europe, etc., where people have also disappeared in these bizarre manners. So I believe he has that in his third book. And the thing is, it's not just a mystery. These are cases where people have lost their loved one. There's a huge hole in their heart that'll never be healed. They'll never have closure, really. Even those that have recovered the bodies, finding the bodies partially clad or nude, a great distance from where they disappeared, with no reasonable, feasible way that they have gotten from point A to point B. Even though they found the body, there's really no closure. What in the heck happened? Why did a normal well-balanced, happy person looking forward to life suddenly just disappear, only to be found miles away in a bizarre position out in the middle of nowhere. And I guess really the other thing about the whole thing is the pushback that David has had from the Park Service. Like David said, all they need to do really is to get graph paper and a clipboard and start marking down when people went missing and where they went missing. And as he put very, very well, you know, if they had a decent small laptop, they could keep a database that would have all the parks, who went missing, where they went, and they would be able to, you know, if they ever find them, where did they find them, what conditions, etc. That would be a great help to people in the future. But why they're not doing it, you really can't speculate, except to say that perhaps the parks don't want people to be afraid to go to the parks, and if it were more publicized that there are scores of people that are disappearing in parks that never are found, it would tend to scare you. Now, what David has said after looking at hundreds or thousands of these cases is never go into the park alone, don't go camping by yourself, don't disappear from those around you into the woods or tree stands or whatever. And he suggests to get a good transponder, which is a battery-powered device that sends a signal out so that people can find you. And he says they cost anywhere from $80 to $400. And get a firearm. He said that of all the cases that he's looked at, there has not been one person that's gone missing like this where the person had both a firearm and a transponder. Now there's people that have gone missing where they had a firearm, some have discharged the firearm, some have not discharged the firearm, and one person went missing but they were found dead in a gorge with a transponder. But as far as people that have had transponder and a firearm, so far he hasn't had anybody that has gone missing with both items on their possession at their time. So it's a mystery and it's disturbing. And David's website is canammissing.com, as in Canada, America, missing.com, canammissing.com. And you can purchase his books there. Apparently, he says that they're much higher on Amazon. I don't get any money from David's books, so I only promote it because I think that his work has been commendable, because it's actually reporting on something nobody else really was doing much of, and very interesting topic. So if you, like me, like mysteries, go to Google and or actually go to YouTube, type in missing 411 comma David Paulides, and there are a lot of interviews of David ranging from half an hour to 2 hours. So I think you'll enjoy it, and thanks for listening to me today talk about a topic that I find very intriguing and concerning and troubling and all those things. So have a great weekend, and if I come up with another topic, I'll do another video. If not, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.